Hi everyone, I'm Rachel, founder of Pawsitive.
And I'm Christy, co-founder of Pawsitive.
Representing Pawsitive, we are launching our first podcast series, navigating the veterinary medicine field and college applications.
We are beyond excited to collaborate with Monica Chan, who's studying her penultimate year at City University of Hong Kong, Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine at Jockey Club College of Veterinary Medicine and Life Sciences.
Hi guys.
So we're going to split the podcast into two halves. The first half is tips for secondary school students submitting their college applications, and the second half is questions about City U Vet Med program.
So our first question is, do you have any advice for current secondary school students who want to study vet in university and are preparing for the college application process? For example, are there any essays or competitions once your work to join?
I personally recommend working at animal shelters, but on top of that, I suggest shadowing at organizations that would offer you exposure to specific species of animals that you're interested in. For example, like some people work in Kaduri or horse stables or vet clinics or work in conservation. And from what I know, there are also a lot of really good overseas program that would provide you with the opportunity to work with wildlife species or some specific areas that you might be interested in, for example, aquarium or zoos, and that would be some really precious experience that you could gain from the process.
That is very insightful. And moving on to our next question, how did you go about writing your personal statement or application essay? And are there any tips for highlighting your passion for vet med in your CV and also in interviews?
So for me, I feel like it's really important to just be open and honest. It's the first principle of writing your CV or like attending an interview because they're gonna know if you're lying. So just don't like casually throw out something that you didn't do before or like you've never had experience with before because once they ask you follow-up questions, they're gonna know you're faking. So first of all, just be open and honest. And secondly, don't just put I love animals. I know a lot of people do that. Of course, you have to love animals to get into vet med, but it's not the primary or like some unique characteristics that they're looking for. So I suggest just try to look at the college website. Like, what do they want? What are our edges? Like, what do we do? For example, in City U, we really advocate One Health, and One Health is a concept that interconnect human, animals, and the environment. So these are something that they might want you to know before applying, and you have to know like what particular characteristics that your college looks for and also what veterinary medicine looks for. So you would want to try to highlight some personal qualities that are related to becoming a vet and support that with evidence. For example, you're a people person, you work with a lot of people, and let's say if you're applying, you can say that you organize like podcasts and positive social media posts and public education and stuff. So you want to back your arguments with examples and evidence. So just try to be a unique person and don't just say, I love animals and that's all. So that would be my sincere advice.
Were there any particular challenges that you faced during your college application process? And if so, how did you overcome the challenges?
Actually, not much. It's pretty much just a routine process of going through university application. And because when I was applying for vet school, it already wasn't my first time applying for college because I was in HKU Med before, and I went through MMI like the mini interviews, multiple mini interviews, something like that. So I went through like several interviews already, and I felt like I was a little bit more prepared. But then I feel like one of the major concerns that I had at that moment was that it was a really new program and there wasn't really much out there for me to look up. And there wasn't also a lot of people sharing their interview experience or like their experience in vet school. by then because it was a really new program in Hong Kong. But I feel like at this stage, we already have like a lot of information disseminated through different channels. So it would be good if you could take the time to just scroll through, let's say, some Instagram posts on our college and like our program, and there are also like some different student societies and clubs, and there are like lots of information out there. So if you bother to just Google search, then I'm pretty sure there are a lot of results that are gonna come up and are gonna help you.
So on to the last question of this first part. So did you find it helpful to job shadow a vet before applying to college? If so, how did you find the opportunities?
I just mentioned before, I feel like it would really help if you could step into a vet clinic and actually shadow before you apply, because you get to know like what it is like to work in a vet field, first of all, and you get to evaluate whether it's really suitable for you, because some people come in just for the animals, but then at the end they realize they're actually a lot more of the human interactions that you need to pay attention to. And vet work is a teamwork. We work with nurses, we work with other vets, and we also work with people from different places. And all your clients that are presenting with the animals are actually human. So you have to be able to communicate with people. And it would be really good if you could shadow a bit and see how they interact with different people in the workplace. So that would also enrich your experience, and you would have a lot more to share at the interviews. And as to how you can find these opportunities, I feel like just be open and just be brave, just to ask and email the vets. Or maybe if you're taking your pet to a consult, you can just ask. Most of them are really helpful and willing to help. So don't be shy. That's the main point, and that's the biggest tip.
Thank you so much. So moving on to questions about the CityU FedMed program. So I would like to ask, are there any research opportunities or internships for Fed students at CityU?
Yeah, there are actually plenty. And there are 3 or 4 courses in our curriculum that are related to research. And we actually have to submit an assignment that is related to research. And then eventually that assignment was intended for publishing. So we have a lot of exposure to research. And then we also took a course on the statistical test and stuff that are related to evidence-based medicine or evidence-based veterinary medicine. So we actually tend to like, we do have a lot of time that's spent on researching, and we also have our final year research projects supervised by different faculty related to vet med. So we actually have a lot of exposure. And so for the internship opportunities, many professors are willing to take in students and are willing to supervise. And sometimes there are, like, from time to time, there are some research competitions out there for student researchers. And then we do have the channels to apply, and we do have the support from faculty to supervise. So I don't feel like that would be a concern in like CityU BVM, because yeah, we're always constantly exposed to these opportunities.
Thank you. Can you give a few examples of research topics you have done before in the past?
Yeah, I actually did do you know FIP, feline infectious peritonitis, and then in Cantonese it's called 腹膜炎. So you might have heard of that because it's a really deadly disease in cats. And then we did some research on the publications on the drugs that are used to treat FIP, or like are intended to treat FIP. And because these drugs are not really legally registered in Hong Kong yet, and it's really a debatable topic whether they're efficacious and they're useful for FIP and how useful they are. So we kind of like did a literature review of the publications that are available out there, and then we tried to look at the drugs. And then another research that I did was on dermatophytes, which are basically fungi and then fungi that infect the skin. So 癬啦，皮膚癬咁樣。So like for that one, we're looking at like dermatophytosis in different exotic companion mammals in Hong Kong, like rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, and we try to look at like what they call what causes that, and then what are the risk factors, and then what are the strains of dermatophytes that we can find in these animals. So yeah, these would be some of my experiences with research at school.
A follow-up question is, how would you describe the workload of studying in City U?
Well, actually for homework it's not that much, except for in year 1 or 2. But then like as you can imagine, vet school is pretty rigorous, and then it's also quite demanding because you have to squeeze in all the knowledge and skills that you need to build for becoming like a qualified veterinarian after 6 years. And 6 years is not really a long time for a degree like that. So the workload is pretty heavy. The official answer might be you need to study for 6 hours a day, but to me, I feel like this official statistic doesn't really make sense because we don't really have weekends either, because all our weekends would be used on like studying previous materials or like compiling notes for future revision, and then preparing ourselves for other stuff. For example, suturing at home, and then we have to practice different clinical skills. So like the reality is you don't really have weekends, and you don't really have weekdays either, because classes start at 9 and end at like 5 or 6. So that would be pretty heavy. And then statistically, or like just to be precise, overall, like average uni students take 15 credits every semester, but then our average would be 21 credits, or sometimes it would be more than that. So we also have like shorter summer holidays because we have to work on our husbandry placement or clinical placement. So that would be it. So that would have to be like within your expectation if you want to be like a vet student.
Okay, thank you. And a question that I personally want to ask is that how does your like study method differ from what you had in high school than in uni?
So in high school, it was mostly about like preparing for the public exam, right? So you can just time block your day and then prepare some specific tasks that you want to do. Well, which I also do right now. But then the difference is you used to drill into a lot of like past papers and stuff and preparing for the examination. But then in vet school, what you have to prepare yourself for is not just the final examination, but also like your professional competency. And you have to make sure you do remember those stuff, even if they're not going to be examined in the upcoming exam. You still have to remember these for your career that is coming up in no time. So I feel like, although maybe like the workload could be similar because I still work long hours every day anyway. But like the pressure is like you have to make sure you master the skills that you have to master. And then it's not just about like studying and memorizing facts, but also like how you utilize these knowledge and information and cooperate, and to include that in your professional practice.
So for the next question is, what kind of hands-on experiences or practical training do you receive as part of your program?
So we do have like scheduled experiences that are like placements, and we have like husbandry placements when we're in junior years. For example, we're like learning to take care of different animals like dogs, cats, horses, or even chickens, goats, and different species of animals. But then, like, moving on to the senior years, we do have clinical placements where we shadow vets and then learn to diagnose diseases learn to treat diseases, learn to perform physical examination on animals, and perform different clinical skills like injection and let's say placing an intravenous catheter and stuff. So we do receive a lot of practical training, and those are within the curriculum. But some of us also went on for extra work. For example, I went to Africa for husbandry, and then I got to meet some cheetahs and different like macaw, like different animals, and like crocodiles, and also just as you can name it. So I guess we do have quite a lot of professional training, and some of my friends also go to vet clinics to shadow from time to time.
Thank you. And the next question would be, what do you find the most interesting about the whole veterinary medicine program?
I feel like the thing that would be the most interesting or the most fascinating actually would be like it's a really highly versatile area and is a highly versatile field actually. So maybe for some people when we talk about vets, you might only think of vets that work in clinics with dogs and cats, but actually it's much more than that. You can be like a small animal vet working at a clinic, of course, but you can also be a researcher. You can work at the government, working on like import, export, quarantine of animals and different policies. Or you can be a large animal vet working around cattle, or farm vet working with poultry, pigs, sheep, and goats. And fish vet also exists for information. So fish do get treated as well. We also have like exotic sites that might be with parrots or hamsters, rabbits, or other any other reptile that you might think of. And there are actually people out there, exotic specialists, performing surgeries on goldfish as well. So this is a really versatile field, and I believe you can hardly get bored because you have a lot of options out there.
So, on to our last question. Can you share any memorable or challenging experiences you've had during your studies so far?
So one of the best experiences that I've had at vet school was organizing activities. And I was actually in the Veterinary Medical Society and also the International Veterinary Students Association, and also many other clubs. So actually, it was the best part of vet school because you get to meet different people and to actually meet some people that vibes with you. So I organized like high table dinners where we gathered with different faculty and also professionals in the field. And that was really amazing because you get to interact with them and get to meet different people and know more about their stories and their experiences in the field. And the other one would be Forever Home. And we actually organized an adoption event and public education event where there was also a marketplace for a charity sale. And these experiences are the ones that you actually like get to have some fun outside of vet school, but do something that is related to your profession and to help people and animals. So those would be the best part.
Thank you, Monica, for joining our podcast today. And you've shared a lot of very insightful knowledge for our audience. So, and it's very helpful for future students who want to study in this veterinary field. And yeah, thank you for joining.